Nelson Mandela and Bishop Desmond Tutu and the other leaders in South Africa over the last few decades, they have shown Africa and the world a new creation. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission that they set up was one of the most unconventional ideas, and it was one of the greatest moral achievements in human history. Their creation was one great example that there is another way for humans to live. We don't have to keep hating and killing each other. We can turn the other cheek. We can transcend our tribal and ethnic hatreds and seek the truth, and the truth shall set us free. The Israelis and the Palestinians need great leaders like this now. Leaders who can show them that there is another way. And it may not be the political leaders. It may have to be their business leaders or their religious leaders or their student leaders. But the wisdom of entrenchment and fear, vindication, and xenophobia clearly is not working for them. Which gets me back to Tulsa. Tulsa needs real leaders for our times. Leaders who aren't stuck in old patterns of thinking and acting. Leaders who can see what is happening in this city and take courageous leadership to do something different for a change. It may not be the political leaders. It may have to be the business leaders or the religious leaders or the student leaders. I don't know who will be able to shift the paradigm for this city. The conventional wisdom that I've been hearing of why the river vote was defeated 9-1 on the north side of Tulsa is by and large a misdiagnosis of the problem. And without a good diagnosis, we can't cure the problem. And without some healing, Tulsa is going to keep getting sicker. Here's what I've heard many people on this side of town saying to make meaning of why the north side of Tulsa voted no overwhelmingly on the river. People are saying, there they go, shooting themselves in the foot again, cutting their noses to spite their face. They don't know what's good for them. They have a real problem of lack of good leaders. It's their victim mentality on the north side that's keeping them poor and keeping them down. They're too disorganized and fractured, especially their leadership. Or, it was better when we had our old form of government because then we could accomplish anything we wanted without having to worry about the north side getting in the way. I have heard every one of these explanations over the past 10 days, and I've heard them from good people, from smart people, from moral and ethical people, people I respect, and people I care about. And they don't realize how wrong these explanations are. I want to talk about hidden America right here in Tulsa. Do you know that there's a wonderful entrepreneurial spirit alive in North Tulsa? We don't hear much about that in the media, though. Do you know that there's a lot of pride in North Tulsa? A lot of pride. Do you realize that there are some incredible educators in North Tulsa working with very little means? Have you seen the children and the youth who are struggling through extremely difficult conditions and getting an education despite so many obstacles working against them? Obstacles at home, at school, and in the neighborhood. These are truly amazing young people, and there are a lot of them. And they've got gifts to share with this city. They've got energy and creativity and intelligence and enthusiasm. What we see in the news are the gangs, the poverty, the brokenness in North Tulsa. But what is hidden from those of us who don't go there or don't have much contact is the incredible spirit of survival and pride. We don't see the real humanity. We don't see the depth of care and leadership that is alive in North Tulsa. But it is so often hidden from those of us who only know our northern neighbors through what we read in the newspaper. The reason that North Tulsa voted overwhelmingly against the river tax is not because they're wrong-headed or ignorant or lacking in leadership. One of the main reasons 8 out of 9 North Tulsans voted no was because they have felt betrayed time and time again by this city's leadership. Think about it. We don't have to go back to 1921 and the race riots, but we could. Because in many ways there's been a series of serious slights that go back more than 8 decades. We don't have to go back to urban renewal and white flight from the Tulsa public school system, but we could. Just in the 7.5 years that I've been in Tulsa, I have watched this dynamic numerous times. In 2001, I watched as the official government-sponsored Race Riot Commission report came out. The report and its recommendations were widely ignored. And this is a type of betrayal. And it was felt as such, and still is. I watched a few years later as the black officer's lawsuit was finally finished and finally settled. And Mayor LaFortune pulled back the city's support unnecessarily and unsuccessfully. That was perceived as one more in a long line of betrayals by the leadership of this city. Recently, when Mayor Taylor brought back Chief of Police Palmer, after she had promised to consult the North Side representatives before making a decision, whether you think that decision was right or wrong is not the point this morning. My point is that there has been a pattern of decisions that have felt like betrayals on the north side of town, and few people in South Tulsa even seem to know it or realize it. It doesn't even register. And losing the only grocery store that they have down there was a huge blow to that community. I'm not sure how many people realize what a symbol that grocery store is for them. Not to mention the practical and expensive inconvenience of it not being there. And when the people of North Tulsa speak up about it, they get called victims. They get patronized with comments that, without using these exact words, express, if they only knew what was good for them, they'd listen to us. It is time that somebody in this part of town started listening to them, really listening. I know as well as you do that there's no monolithic voice on the north side, just like there's no one voice and one opinion on this part of town or the west part of town or the east part of town. But the larger point is we have a race problem in Tulsa. We love to talk about what a great town this is, what great spirit there is, and there is. And we have a race problem in Tulsa that will not go away simply by changing our form of government. It won't go away just by developing the river. It won't go away with stiffer immigration laws. It won't go away unless we start listening to one another. I hear a lot of people who talk as if they've got it all figured out. People who are more than willing to talk and share their opinions about North Tulsa. What I hear is a lot of the same old conventional Tulsa wisdom. Much of it coming from people who have a lot of influence in this town. And a lot of people who have very little substantive experience in North Tulsa. And it's leading our city backwards. I hope that you will be among the people who will truly listen to what our North Side neighbors are trying to tell us. I hope that you will be one who will speak up when you hear the same old stereotypes and prejudiced thinking that about the North Side, which is continuing to bring this city down. Because the biggest change that needs to happen for race relations in Tulsa is on this side of town.